This week we read Parsha Beshalach, when the Lord sent out the Hebrews from Egypt. It contains the song on the sea, at the Sea of Reeds, when they passed through the Sea of Reeds miraculously and sang the song. And soon after that episode by the sea, the Torah tells us that they came to a place called Marah, called bitter, where they had lack of water and they complained for not having water. So one of the interesting questions about this episode is, how could it be that this fierce complaining, they said, what, there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you took us out here to die in the desert? By the way, this here behind me is the Judean desert, but it's not so dry right now. If you were here today, you probably could find something to drink, maybe down the bottom. But I guess if you had a really large group of people, it could be problematic. In any case, how could it be that people could have this strong complaining and seeming lack of faith just a few days after going through the Red Sea? The Red Sea being split for them. What happened to their faith? And the answer that they give often is that the experience at the Red Sea, although it brought them up to a very high level, like a level of prophecy even, nevertheless, because it was something external to them, it was in the object. They saw God as an external object, as it were. They can always point to and say, wow, this is our God. We'll extol him. But it was something external. And therefore, because it didn't enter into their internal consciousness as a personal faith, therefore, after a short time, it was possible to, when the demands of life, namely water, which is a strong demand of life, when the demands of life come crashing back, it didn't stand up to that test. And this is one of the main challenges we all have. We all have this challenge in that, on one hand, we want to be attached to faith. We want to be attached to God. We want to be attached to something greater than ourselves and a vision that's greater than our actuality. At the same time, we want to be down to earth, and we need to deal with the demands of life. If I can just take off my shoe here for a moment. We had some rain here in Israel this week, thank goodness. And because of that, the fields here, I'm out here near Tekoa, Israel, get a little muddy. These are my New Balance sneakers, which I love New Balance because they fit my foot well and don't give me foot pain like many other shoes do. I received no money from New Balance for saying that. I just happened to be buying them for many years. So you see here, as I walked over here, I got a lot of MUD. Mud backward is dumb, they say. I don't know what the connection is, but I got a lot of MUD mud, boats, as we say in Hebrew, on my New Balance sneakers. That's not really pertinent, although I might say that it is pertinent in a certain way, because it says when the people of Israel went through the Dead Sea, not the Dead Sea. Oh, by the way, the Dead Sea, you can see behind me someplace there. If you look, you can see the mountains of Jordan over there, and through that little break over there, you can see this little part of the Dead Sea. I don't know if you saw it there or not, but it's over there someplace. Okay, maybe I can make it a little bigger for you. Someplace that I can see it, but maybe you can't see it. Okay, any case, actually, the people of Israel didn't actually cross to the Dead Sea when they came out of Egypt, although it wasn't so far away. presumably, but they passed through the Sea of Reeds. And it says there they passed through B'Yavashah. B'Yavashah was dry, meaning supposedly there was a miracle. It wasn't even muddy. But okay, I wasn't there. I really couldn't confirm that story. But that's what our tradition tells us. But the point is, of taking my shuf here was not so much to show you the mud, although I'm sure you found that exciting, but rather to talk about bounce, because I have new bounce sneakers, and it's really about bounce. What does it mean, bounce? There's two things we always have to bounce in life, at least two, but for our purposes today, there's two things that always need to be in bounce. And this is a challenge ongoing every day. Every day you need new bounce. You have to find new bounce. You can wear other shoes too. I'm not plugging those shoes. I'm just using that as an expression because I want to talk about bounce. Every day you have to find bounce. Bounce between what? Between, on one hand, the dream, on the other hand, the practicality. Day-to-day life, practicality. The dream, practicality. How do you bounce them together? Because the truth is, if you're all on one side or the other, you're unbounced. If you're only living in the dream, then you're not really living in the real world. And that's unbounced. And on the same hand, if you're only living, by the same token, if you're only living in a practical way, you're all totally focused on what's practical, and you have no dreams and no ideals and no aspirations for anything else than fulfilling your practical needs, then you're also unbounced. You're also unbounced. So the challenge is always to bounce the dream and the practicality together. And that's not easy to do. That's what we try to do our whole lifetime long. And in the end of this week's reading of Beshalach, there's something that might help us relate to this a little bit. And that is, as is well known, the phenomenon which took place starting soon after leaving Egypt in this week's Parsha, and continued for 40 years, of the manna which fell from heaven. The people of Israel were living in the desert for 40 years before they entered the land of Canaan, the land of Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. And they were fed by heaven from bread from heaven called manna, which fell down during the night, early morning. I don't know exactly what time on the clock. Early in the night or morning, it would be found laying on the desert floor, covered by a layer of dew. Okay, it was some sort of miraculous food, which was very nutritious and tasty, and it allowed them to eat and survive for 40 years. It had many miraculous qualities, according to our tradition. And the thing about the man is that you couldn't put it in your refrigerator, because I'm sure they all had refrigerators in the desert, right? But you couldn't put it in your refrigerator, you couldn't put it in your storeroom or your box, whatever, and save it for the next day. It would just disintegrate. You could collect what you needed for everyone. You would collect whatever you collected. That was the right amount for the number of people you had in your household for that day. You could eat it that day. And after that, it wasn't there anymore. So it wasn't like you could store it. The only exception to that, as we know, which appears in next week's Parsha, is that, I believe, is that you could not store it. I mean, the only exception is that on Yom Shishi, on the sixth day, a double portion fell, lasting for the sixth day and the seventh day Shabbat. Because on Shabbat, it was forbidden to go out of the camp into the field and collect the manna. So there was a double portion on Yom Shishi. So the man is called Lechem Emunah. It's a bread of faith, because it teaches you, if you have for today, don't worry, you'll be okay tomorrow. Meaning, that's not to say that it's forbidden to have more than you need for one day in general, but as an approach, it was a lesson that that Am Yisrael had to learn, and that each of us have to learn, is that yes, we have to attend to our practical needs, but if we're only doing that, then we're also unbalanced. Because as it says elsewhere in the Torah, Lo alechem levad yechei adam. Not by bread alone will man live, but by everything that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord. Meaning those dreams and whatnot, which we try to also stay attached to, that also has to be part of our life. And if it's not, we're unbalanced. We're losing our balance. Today, we don't have the Manna anymore. However, on Shabbat, we have chalot, we have Shabbos chalas, which is called lechem mishneh, double bread, in memory of the double bread which fell in the desert for 40 years. And lechem mishneh, chalot of Shabbat, on the one hand, they're a down-to-earth thing. They're very practical, they're bread. On the other hand, they also have a aspect of, because they have an aspect of coming from Shemayim, they're a certain way they're also bread from heaven, and that they represent Shabbat. Shabbat, when we're able to see things in a larger picture, we keep track of the dreams that we're yearning for and working toward, the dreams of a better world, the dreams of a better us, the dreams of many good things. So we don't want to lose track of those dreams. So when we eat the chalot on Shabbat, we're connecting to that new balance which we seek every day, the connection between our dreams and the practical world. Shabbat Shalom, and thanks for listening.